I spent 3 days and 4 nights in complete darkness. Like, I instantly started crying. I felt so scared. I felt so alone, and my mind started spiraling. What did I sign up for? There's no way I can do this, and I need to get the out of here. I was in full body panic mode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Macro Hour. And for today's episode, my friends, it is going to be unlike anything that I've ever shared before. I just tried to do the opening multiple times, like the mindset, methodologies, and tactics. And to roll from that into this type of episode, I was like, it just felt off. Like I just couldn't do it. So we're just going to dive into this episode today on me sharing the experience that I had of spending 3 days and 4 nights in complete darkness about like 3-4 weeks ago. And it's going to be vulnerable. It's going to be real. It's going to be raw. I just want to be, open and share this experience that I had with you guys. It's on a very personal level. Maybe at some points things will resonate with you, but just know, if this is your first time tuning in to the Macro Hour, this is not going to be about fitness and nutrition. And if you don't want to hear this personal journey, then I would recommend going and finding another episode that you want to chime in on. But for many of you guys, man, I shared this on my Instagram. I did a whole Q&A on it. So many of you guys leaned in with me on this experience and were so curious. And I just appreciated that so much because this was a very different thing that I've ever shared with you guys before. But you know that I like to keep it real and honest. So a few weeks ago, I spent 3 days and 4 nights in complete darkness. Like no light, no phone, no distractions, just me, my mind, my body, my fears, and most importantly, God. And for some of you guys that may be just hearing in my relationship with God for the first time, let me just elaborate on that because there's a lot in this episode that I'm going to be touching on in that respect. And I just want to fill you in because some of you guys are just hearing this for the first time. I haven't really been sharing that on social media, but I want you to know that growing up, I went to Catholic school like from 6th grade all the way through college. And so I grew up Catholic, and faith was always around me. And I've always referred to, I've always believed in a higher power. I've always said the universe or just something that is of greater than me. But lately, in the past 6-7 months, I've recognized that this is God and that this is Him doing His work in my past, in my present, and even in my future. And so you're going to hear me kind of touch on this inside this episode a little bit, but I just want you to know that that's where I stand with that and where my belief in my relationship is going with God. And today, guys, I just want to take you with me into this overall whole experience. But before I get into it, this was just an idea. It was just a thought in my mind. And I'm going to say where and why and all the things. But literally getting there is where it turned into an experience because it wasn't just a retreat of what it's known to be called. It was a death, it was a rebirth, and it was a journey entirely back to myself. For a little bit of context, I'm going to drop this in the episode too as well. But for a couple of years, I felt really disconnected from me and from my truth and from who I really am. And I've gone through periods of that, back in my early 20s when I was in that relationship where I was engaged. There felt like a calling inside of me that I was trying to get back to of who I really truly felt I was. And I felt that again. And that was one of the reasons why I felt I needed to go on to this retreat. It was entirely a journey back to me, to my truth, and remembering who I am. And so this was, again, the darkness retreat. It was at a place called Sky Cave in Oregon. And what originally drew me to this is I was talking with friends. I believe this is where it initially dropped in my mind. at the beginning early of like 2024. And we were talking about all these different retreats and like things that we wanted to try. And one of my friends brought up a darkness retreat, and I was like, and then they brought up Aaron Rodgers and that Aaron Rodgers did this thing and it looked really cool. So I reached out to Sky Cave because this is the same retreat that Aaron Rodgers did. But let me just preface, I heard and rumors that Aaron Rodgers was on drugs when he did this retreat at this location. I don't know how true that is, but I just want to preface that there were no drugs involved for me on this experience. Okay. So I first reached out in August of last year, 2024, and they got back to me. Like, these people are amazing. The owners, the co-found, like all the people that do their work there are incredible. And I highly recommend, this experience if you feel like it's called to you. But the wait list was 3 years long. I reached out sharing what I wanted, like why I wanted to do it. And they were like, we want to know why you want to do it. And so I shared that with them, and they were like, okay, cool. Well, we don't have a spot until September of 2027. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe someday I'll do this. I put myself on the wait list and just kind of like, okay, then I'm just going to wait it out. I put it on my calendar. I blocked out the weeks. And then less than a year later, like earlier this year, 2025, I think it was like February, I got an email that a spot had opened up in 3 weeks. And this was like the end of February. And I was like, shoot, like I can't do that week. But holy cow, that's so cool that a spot opened up this early. Like I was waiting, thinking I was going to wait 3 years. And he was like, okay, well, if you can't do that week, then I have a couple other weeks. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, let me look at my calendar. I have a lot of travel coming up in March. If you guys follow me on social media, I did a trip every freaking weekend in March. Really cool. I feel very grateful that I can do that. That was a lot, but I was able to, I wanted to do this experience so badly. So there was an opening at the end of March that I could make happen. And I was like, okay, this wasn't just someday anymore. It was now. And I felt like it was divine timing. I felt like 3 years from now, like my life is going to be so different. I'm going to maybe forget like the tenderness and maybe the feelings of that I'm feeling now of why I want to do this. It's probably going to, elongate a little bit more, and it's not going to be as not painful, but as like close to home, if that makes sense, or as felt, right? Like I'm experiencing these things now. I want to be able to go on to this retreat and be able to nurture whatever I need to, or get to the depths of now. I don't want to have to wait 3 years. So when this happened and all of these, like, he was like, here's a couple more dates. Let's make, like, can you make it work? And I'm like, yeah. All right. This is divine timing. This is God saying like, all right, this is your time, girl. Like, let's go. And the truth is, like, I've been feeling this nudge for something deeper for a while. As I touched on a little bit earlier when I was opening up the podcast, like life has been shifting in some big ways for me, some big uncomfortable ways. And I know that this is his work right now for me to just like let go of control, surrender, and just try and be in the moment and trust that the path that he's paving for me, as crooked as it feels right now. And when I say he, I'm referring to God. As crooked as it feels right now, I know that he's got the straight path forward, and I just need to like trust and surrender. And that's really hard for me to do sometimes because I like control. And I'm sure that if many of you guys resonate with me, like you feel the same exact way. And it's hard to just be like, okay, let go and let God. And that's been my motto over the last couple of months. The part of the big things too that have been happening. And if I stutter, it's because it's like, this is vulnerable stuff that I'm sharing with you guys. So it's like, I want to get to these depths and levels with you because I love you guys and I want to know that we're human and we all go through the same things, but it's also very uncomfortable for me. So also in some ways that some things have been shifting in the big ways is like at the end of, when was it? September or October, I just walked through the ending of a relationship that had been part of my life for over 4 years. And a relationship that while we had so much love and respect for each other, it naturally had run its course. It had a natural conclusion. We were closing doors, and it was something that both mutually was the right thing for the both of us. And that ending came with an opening. It came into an opening of parts of myself that I hadn't fully explored. And I've kind of just like been ignoring. And I felt like it was like an invitation to lean more inward to myself, to listen more closely, to rediscover who I was when everything like familiar kind of fell away, if that makes sense. Like my day-to-day, WarriorBabe, the team, content, this relationship, like I had an opportunity to really lean in to explore the depths of myself that it's really hard to do when you have your normal day-to-day society, hustle culture, like all of those things. And I felt like I needed to get to depths that have never been explored before, because there was parts of me that were showing up in this relationship that I didn't like or didn't understand. Not that I didn't like, I just didn't understand. I don't want to place any judgment, because it's what I learned in this experience is like, have curiosity, don't have judgment or shame. Ask questions as to why you're feeling this way, as to being like you shouldn't feel this way. So it's more so like there were some things I was just curious about, why I was showing up in certain aspects, or why I was handling things certain ways. And so I knew that I'm in like it's like a death season, and not at like a surface level, oh, things are changing kind of death. It's like the kind where you shed layers that you didn't even realize that you were carrying. And when this opportunity came, when he was like, here's more dates, it just felt like the exact right place to let parts of me die. It could have been anything. Like it could have been like, I'm going to go. And my friends and family were joking around about this. They were like, why can't you just go to the Caribbean, to the beach, like to where you still have cell service and go and do this exploration for yourself? And I was like, I don't know, man. It just felt like there were so many things leading up to this experience that it was like, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to the dark. You're supposed to go off grid. You're supposed to be no cell service. Like you're supposed to be away from society and away from the things, and no opportunity for distractions. And so that's just that calling, like I had to lean into it. And that's, what I've realized that I've done that always led me to newer openings or newer possibilities or newer experiences is doing something that is uncomfortable. And when you get outside of your comfort zone, and the same applies, it can apply to fitness, it can apply to nutrition, it can apply to going to work out. Like when you get out of your comfort zone, you realize how capable you are of things. And this is where I knew like, okay, this experience is going to be entirely uncomfortable. At first, again, it was just an idea. The idea was so uncomfortable. When the experience happened, it was really uncomfortable. And I'm going to get into that. And I knew that this is something more, like this is an experience where something more could really be born within myself. So when I arrived at Sky Cave, or when I even just got to the airport and some random person was picking me up to go drive an hour to this Sky Cave location, that's where everything like, your flight or fight responses, or your control, or your like safety, and like the mind just warping reality to make you try and figure out, like it's just crazy how my mind is so in control of things and tries to be in control, when really it's like these assumptions or these illusions that aren't even true. I thought, I'm getting in a car with a guy that I don't even know, I'm gonna die. Like literally that was my mindset. But anyway, so, and that mindset carried on for a couple aspects of the initial beginning of the journey. So when I arrived there, they gave me the option to like, and it's just like you spend an hour with the person driving you there, and then they drop you off at your cave. But I'm by myself, guys. There's nobody else. There's other people. There's two other caves that are doing their experience, but you don't see them. They have this like operation where you weave in and out, and you don't run into other people. Meaning weave in and out of your cave. This is a 300 square foot cave, you guys, in the middle of the Oregon mountains. I'm up in 3,000 elevation. I asked them that question. And there's a national park that backs up to this land. So it's like if you were to look at Oregon's map, it's south, all the way south, where it's all green. Like it's in the middle of nowhere. The drive was an hour from the airport, and then the driveway was like a 5-mile driveway. So my mind is like, this is going to be really hard to leave. If I wanted to leave, it's not like I can call an Uber. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to give that like context so you guys can just be with me as I continue to share this journey. So they give you the option to weave in and out of the darkness for like the first 24 hours to like help you get acclimated, to like step in, feel it out, step back out into the light if you need to. The first time that I stepped into complete darkness, I broke. Dude, there's like, okay, imagine this through, and you guys can go to my Instagram handle and there's a highlight of this entire journey. You can paint the picture even more by seeing the pictures of what the room looked like because it's on that highlight reel. I walked in, you shut off all the lights. They give you a towel because there's still a little beam of light that comes through the bottom of the door that you initially close. And actually, let me back up a little bit. So this cave has 2 doors. You walk into the main door and you walk down a couple of steps, and then you walk into another, and that's where like the fire pit is because they make fires for you. And then you walk into another room, and that's the 300 square foot room that you close a door, and then you turn off all the lights and it's complete darkness. So, and you lock I locked the doors, just made me feel safer. But I couldn't lock the front door, so anybody could get in. Okay, but anyway, so the second door where I'm at is you can put, you have to put a towel down because there's some light that gets in underneath. Like it's not entirely closed off. I hadn't even put the towel down, like to cover the light. Like I could still see a little beam of light, and I broke. I instantly started crying. No joke. And in this moment, I felt so scared. I felt so alone, and my mind started spiraling. What did I sign up for? There's no way I can do this. And I need to get the out of here. I was in full body panic mode. And even when like I came back into the light, my mind was already because of going in there and seeing how dark it was, like I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face, kind of dark. And again, beforehand, this was an idea, guys. I thought I brought some books. I'm like, this is just going to be like, I'm going to be able to see myself around. People that I've talked to have been like, no, Nikki, like I had a feeling it was complete darkness. Like I didn't really know it until I was there. And this is an aspect about me that I kind of love and hate. I will put myself into situations, but I'll put myself into a room and then try and figure it out. Does that make sense? So like won't fully get the what I'm signing up for until I'm there. And then I figure it out. And that's kind of good and bad. So yeah, I was in full panic mode. And when I came out, I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like, I'm mentally packing my bags. I'm mentally calling, I literally I had my assistant on speed dial. I was like, yo, can you get my flights out? Like, I was thinking of this, like, she can get my flights out tomorrow. I'll figure out how to get out of here on this 5-mile driveway. I was in full survival mode. Dude, these are just like the thoughts were controlling my every action. And truthfully, you guys, that's a pattern that I've carried for a long, 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 long time. When things get uncomfortable, majority of the time, I will figure it out, but at the same time, I'm scared. And in these moments, like when I'm in survival mode, I will move fast, I will control, and I will armor up. There's part of me that's like, and this happened from a very young age. So because there was a lot of aspects while I was in the darkness, I was able to meet my younger self and nurture my younger self and hold my younger self and be there and listen to what she needed and hear the experience of where she felt scared. But this happened at a very young age. And so my nervous system has been programmed for that type of survival mode from a very young age. I had to grow up very fast. My parents were divorced. I had a mom that I didn't know what kind of character I was going to get from her on a daily basis. She wasn't really like a nurturing, let me hold you, let me be there for your big emotions kind of mom. It was a very distant relationship, and it was very woven in and out from my whole childhood and up until my even later teenage years and even now. And I'm so grateful for my stepmom came in my life when I was 7 years old. And I'm so grateful for her coming into my life at that point because, and this is what I experienced like coming out of this, is if I didn't have a nurturing aspect like her in my life at 7, I don't think that I would have been able to do this experience fully because it was because of the nurturing that she gave me. that I didn't get from my real mom growing up, that she gave me growing up, I was able to soften into this experience. I don't think I would have been able to do that if it wasn't for her motherly instincts at that age. And I'm so grateful for that. But there's still like the aspects of me, like the nervous system being out of control, survival mode. You need to like armor up. You need to move fast and think about what you're going to do here, because that's what I had to do at a young age. Hey, while you're listening, if you're getting value from this episode, take a moment to tap that review button or share this podcast with a friend. It's a small gesture that goes a long way in helping more women find their way to feeling stronger and more confident in their skin. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to support this show. So beforehand, like I'm still freaking out. Before you go fully into the darkness, this is where like you get to meet a somatic healer for 2 hours. So I got to talk to her for 2 hours, and she met me exactly where I was. I'm so grateful for her, because she was like, yo, I'm just going to shoot it to you straight. You're on the dramatic end of the spectrum. And I want you to know that if there's no failure here, we don't look at success here at Sky Cave as you going in for the full 3 days and 4 nights. You can make this retreat how you need to and how you want to, that feels safe for you. If you need to weave in and out the entire experience, do so. But she met me where I was at. She met me where I was panicked. She met me where I was scared. She met me where I was wide open. I was cracked open. She reminded me, like, I don't have to fight the fear. I don't have to muscle through this, because that's exactly what to backtrack. Before I met her, I went back into the darkness and I was like, I fucking got this. I can do this. No problem. And again, it's more of a enduring aspect. I'm just going to muscle through this experience, as I've done majority of my life. But she was like, you don't have to muscle through this. If you do, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder. You're going to meet a lot of resistance and you're not going to get the full experience. And I was like, okay. And I know that I'm a really good student. You tell me something that resonates with me, that hits to my core, I'm going to take that and I'm going to apply that type of learning into my life, into my reality, into the experience. So the things that she was saying resonate with me. And so I knew that I could soften into this. I could let the fear be there and I could stay. And after that session with her, dude, I still felt afraid. Like, I still was thinking about, I could leave, but I didn't want to run anymore. I didn't want to feel scared anymore. I wanted to feel scared, but I wanted to be there with it and understand it. Like, I didn't want to figure out my exit. Like, I was learning how to I want to learn how to be with the scared. Like, why am I scared? Instead of placing judgment on, like, Nikki, you shouldn't be scared. You can do this. You can totally get through it. Dude, why am I scared? That's what I mean by judgment and shame and all of the things. It's like, no, why am I scared? And dude, that softened everything. And through this experience, like, I started to see how deeply my old identity or my younger self was tied to muscling through hard things, like powering past discomfort to surviving, not feeling. I had built so much of my life around strength. I suppressed a lot of things. My life was built around strength equaling suppression. Like, strength equaling control. Strength equaling being tough. Strength equaling, like, this hard exterior layer. Armor. Dude. But, like, in me, and this is like the masculine, right? This is like masculine energy, and I'm so sick of feeling that way. Because in me, I know there's so many feminine qualities of who I am and how I operate day to day. And I've just been like, nope, suppress. But in the darkness, like, everything's stripped away. There's no lights, there's no distraction, there's no armor. And I realized, wow, true strength is very soft. Like, this is a really hard experience, and I can do really hard things by just softening into them. Like, true strength is the courage to sit with the fear without trying to fix it. Like, I'm somebody, it's like, I need to fix everything. Me sitting with me being afraid, to be scared, and just to stay anyway, to cry and to not judge it, to surrender and to still feel like I had to surrender in that experience, but I still felt very strong. And that old version of me, the one who survived by shutting down, she started to die there. And something more alive started to be born in that experience. Like I felt my true self coming through in terms of like, I can be soft, but I can be stern. Like the marrying of the feminine and the masculine together, the calming of my nervous system, and also the protection of the masculine. That makes sense. It's like in there, I had all of these emotions. I wove in and out, right? The first day, my nervous system was so shot. And by the way, like when I initiated the darkness, to backtrack, and the way you have to do it is you have to light a candle and then you turn out the lights and you blow out the candle. And I initiated it. And in that moment, I didn't feel scared. I felt all of these things that I just said. I felt very soft. And I don't know if it was a mixture between my nervous system was so shot because I was so tired, or it was, I'm here and I'm going to experience this with a different type of energy. But the first day and some of you guys have asked me like, how'd you sleep? Did you sleep a lot? The first day I slept a lot but then as the days got on, sleep got harder because you're not really doing anything in the cave. I'm at most had maybe 800 steps from my Oura ring. And there were some things I still kept control of. Like my phone was in the room. But I had, no cell service. Like you can't do anything with the phone. It's just a clock at that point. And so I was able to still tell what time it was. It was a form of control. And I see it and understand it now, but it didn't take away from my experience. I made the experience how I needed to make it for me to feel that I would get the most out of it. And they also check in on you in the morning and at nighttime. So he came, I could tell like even there were some points where I was like, no, Nikki, don't check it. Like just be with it. Right. And so but I knew he'd come around like 9 and he'd come around like 6 o'clock at night. So that was like still a form of like, okay, I know what time it is. But it's a sleeping wise, like I crashed. And that the first night I was so tired and the first day I was so tired. And that was a sign that I felt safe. I felt safe in that spot, in that room. Like nothing felt scary to me in the darkness. And they asked me that a couple of times when they come to check in. Does any room or any part of the room feel you feel scared? And I was like, no, I feel fine. So that was good to hear because I felt like I could keep going on this, right? And I did I didn't weave in or out. I did the full three days and 4 nights. A few of the biggest lessons that I learned, and I feel like a lot of you guys are going to resonate with me on this, is on the second day, it was raining that entire day. And literally, guys, like the silence, it was so silent. So silent. You could hear every single one of your thoughts. The silence was like either a hum, it was either a ringing, it was either static, or you could hear, like on the second day, it rained the entire day. So I could hear the raindrops on the ground. You could hear little animals running by, wild turkeys gobbling. You could hear everything. But on this day, I had just slept a lot the first day. On this day, I was like, I'm bored. And again, the emotions you would weave in and out, okay? I'm bored. And I'm just pacing back and forth. Like I wasn't really like I wasn't moving my body. I didn't work out in there other than doing some yoga, maybe some squats and some push-ups, but I was bored. And so during the check-in, one of the biggest things that he told me to do in this is just be honest with everything that you're feeling. Because if you can be honest, you're accepting it, and you can feel or learn or be curious about where it is in your body that you're feeling this, and then just be with it and sit with it, let it pass, but be with what remains. And I was like, oh, that hits. So during one of the check-ins, I told him, I was like, I am bored. And he asked me, well, okay. And each time they were doing like little like somatic like sessions with you. Or he was like, okay, if boredom had a voice, what would it say? And I was like, dude, I gotta be doing something. Like, I gotta be doing something. He was like, what if it's just okay to do nothing? And I'm like, he's like, what if it's just okay to be bored? I'm like, oh shit, that hit me. But under that, once I accepted it, once I talked it out, once I said it, and he was like, well, what if? Under that was guilt. Under that boredom was so much guilt. Guilt for resting, guilt for not doing something, guilt for not producing, guilt for not doing enough, guilt for not working on something, guilt for not putting my mind into doing some type of project. But in the darkness, there's nothing to do. You just have to be. You just have to feel. And I realized, okay, stillness is scared. Rest doesn't mean laziness. Presence isn't wasting time. Stillness is where I get to just be and meet myself and experience type of emotion that I'm feeling and understand and be curious as to why I'm feeling it. Oh, you're feeling it because you're guilty that you're not doing something? Where does that come from? That comes from hustle culture, my friends. The grind. Be busy, wake up, 5 a.m., go crush your day, have tons of energy drinks, produce, seek. I have, if not more than ever, done that over the last 7 years than I've ever done in my life. And let me just say, there's some great ass qualities to that, but there's got to be a balance or you're going to drive yourself through a freaking wall. You're going to be met with emptiness if you're constantly seeking material, like hustle, like grind, got to put the grit in. Great qualities that you can learn from that, but can you balance it out with softness, stillness, nurturing, relaxing, time off, like vacationing, like mix those things in together, because the masculine and feminine, you got to learn, at least personally for me, I'm learning that the two need to thrive together. You can't just be one or the other. And I've done a really good job in my masculine. I'm really trying my best to learn the feminine. And that's the journey I'm on right now. So that was an experience. And then another amazing experience I had was, so before I walked into the cave, I stood at the door and I invited God in the room with me. And I invited my younger self into the room with me. And I asked God to give me clarity and peace and understanding as to what this experience is here to give me. And also his wisdom and his courage and his strength to find the words and find the strength and the courage to do this experience with him by my side. And then I knew my younger self was so scared. And so I said, hey girl, I'm here. I got you. And I'm going to keep you safe along this journey. I'm going to check in with you, and anything that you need, I'm holding your hand along the way. And so we walked in, and periodically I would check in with my younger self. And majority of the time I was talking a lot to God. And there was one part where I was talking to him that I saw a future vision, and I know and see it so much as clear as day how he's done work in the past, as I said, and in the present and in the future. And by me being in there nurturing my younger self, something that she didn't have at a young age, one of the deepest moments was the vision of my future children. It was so warm. It was so soft. It was so wholesome. It was so loving. And it brought me to tears. There's a lot of times that I cried. Because growing up, I didn't get to experience a nurturing aspect in a way that my heart needed it, right? Like my mom didn't give me those things, that my real mom didn't give me those things that I needed. And it was, again, the character I didn't know. Like, thank God I had my stepmom, but majority of the time I was in split 50-50 custody with my mom and my dad. And so I would go in and out of nurture, not nurture, nurture, not nurture. Didn't know what I was getting from this person, but got this from this person. And I say this with so much love to you guys. Like, I don't want to shed a bad light on my mom. There's something that in this experience, I was able to understand that she didn't have the tools or the resources growing up, because I see her humanity now. And I forgive her for not showing up the way that she could have for me, because she didn't have the things that she did, the tools and the resources to give her the ability to be that. And in that moment, I realized, I was like, damn, one of the biggest things for me deep down here on this earth is like being a part of like generational change, being a part of generational change for the wealth of my family, but also being generational change for the emotional trauma that was in me from the womb of being with her, right? And I'm like, I get to be the cycle breaker. I get to create the environment that I craved so much as a younger child, and I get to give the nurturing that I missed. I get to, and this is what the vision was like, and it was a little girl running to me having all of these big emotions, and me just being like holding her and nurturing her and being like, it is okay to feel what you are feeling. And I'm here to hold you and keep you safe. And that was such a beautiful moment to me. And that right there was generational healing. Not just for me, but for those who come after me, for her kids and the kid and her kids. Like, this was so the most beautiful aspect of this journey for me. And while I was in the cave, like I kept asking God too, as well. I was like, all right, like there was moments of being scared. There was moments of these amazing, like that amazing experience that I had and that amazing vision. And then it came back down to like the nights were the hardest for me. I was scared. The noises were so like the small little noises, probably just a little ground squirrel, were so big. And I was like, somebody's breaking in, I'm going to die. Like I would wove in and out, but it's like, but why am I scared? And that part brought me back to a younger aspect of where I didn't get nurtured when I lived in this scary ass house next to a graveyard and I thought ghosts were going to get me. So it's like these little things, if you can just be still and experience like the raw emotions and not judge them or shame them, but be curious with them, you can get to the where are they coming from and how you can sit with them, be with them, and then let them go. And so while I was in there, I kept asking too. I was like, God, when I come out, can you just show me your glory when I come out? Like, show me your work. Like, I need to know that we just spent this entire time. And I know he's always with us, don't get me wrong. But like in there, I was like, let's have a grand finale. Let's go out big. And I didn't know exactly what I was asking for. I just knew I wanted to feel him when I walked out. And when I emerged from the darkness, you guys, and again, this is 3 days, 4 nights. So I went in on a Friday and I came out on a Tuesday morning. And when I walked out and I emerged from the darkness, it was snowing. It was snowing. And what was so cool is because the owner was like, we haven't seen much snow this season because it's been rainy and wet and muddy, and just like that's been the vibe. And when he was like, it's snowing and there's already an inch on the ground and the hillsides are all covered and it's very bright, I'm like, whoa. In a place that barely got snow all winter, it was as if like God himself whispered, you're not alone. You never were. Here I am. I'm showing you that I'm by your side. And I was just immersed in so much gratitude. And so I came out and it was so bright, especially with the snow and it being white. It was so bright. And you guys can see on my Instagram, there's a full video of my immersion and like me taking off the blindfolds if you guys are interested in going and checking it out. But it was a really cool experience. I know some of you guys like wanted to hear that aspect, but also wanted to hear like, how did you eat? Did you work out? Like I did a whole Q&A on my Instagram. And so with food wise, don't know the menu, but it was very clean. I didn't know the menu going into it. It was very clean food. It was egg white or hard-boiled eggs, chia seed pudding, peanut butter and jellies, which I still kept to this day because I freaking love them. And I felt like a kid eating them again. Salad, soup, tea, no caffeine during the entire time. Carrots, celery, nuts, olives, which I came to a liking in there too as well, and have continued to eat olives post the retreat. But just very healthy. They live entirely off the grid. They do a lot. They make a lot of their food. But I even asked, he's like, a majority of the food comes from like grocery stores too as well. But they give it to you. So how I said the 2 doors, right? They give it to you through a double-sided door. So where their fireplace is another door. It's like being in prison, essentially. Like if you want to think about it like that, like there's a door, he closes the door, I open my side of the door and I take all the food. When I'm done with all the Tupperware, I put the Tupperware back in the door, close my door, he comes and refreshes it and opens the door on his side. So that's how that worked. But I ate in complete darkness. I peed in complete darkness. I bathed in complete darkness. I walked around in complete darkness. It was a lot of like, let me just feel around to where I'm at. At some points, like in there, it was like, I thought I was here, but I'm a little bit disoriented because I'm not, and I'm over here. So there was a lot of feeling around. I ran into the bedpost a couple of times and it hurt like a mofo. But how I would spend my days is like literally wake up, I would sit and meditate for I don't know how long because I wasn't really paying attention to the time. I would check in periodically, as I said, to the time, but I didn't know how long I was actually sitting there. Wasn't like, oh, here this time I'm starting and this time I'm ending. I would then move my body, was doing some like light, like as I said, some light squats, like maybe 10, 20, and then doing some stretching. Wasn't much. I would go lay on the bed. I would take a little nap again, and then I would go bathe, and I would just sit in a zero gravity chair for majority of the day with my thoughts and having these types of experiences that I just shared with you. The nights were definitely the hardest. Like when I couldn't sleep anymore, there was animals on the roof. There was outside the cave. There were sounds outside of the cave. At one point, I swore there was something trying to get into the chimney, and my heart rate spiked. I shared that on Instagram. And instead of fighting it, man, I just grounded myself in the tools that I had, and I was just breathing and feeling and just staying. And I realized like I can do hard things without muscling through them. And I can stay present with fear without letting it control me. And I can stay soft, and I can allow the feminine to be, even in the face of like all of these survival instincts. And that was the coolest thing that I took away from it. And walking out of the cave, it felt like just a total like rebirth. It felt like this new, like not like a new me kind of rebirth. Like it felt like a coming home to me type of like knowing that I have strength, but I can be strength, and I'm strong, and I can be soft. It just, there's parts of me that always have been there beneath the armor, beneath the survival, and the part that's strong because that I'm soft, right? Like, as I said, like there's things like at the depths that I felt like I was so far removed from, that in here I was able to get close and exposed to. That's the part where like that I can trust myself deeply. Like getting to those depths, I know that I can trust myself. I hear my knowing. I understand my strengths, my weaknesses, my characteristics, like all of the things. I know that I can do hard things, but I can do them also in this type of way by softening. And I also know that like I can do hard things and stay open. I can trust my body and my heart to guide me. I don't have to fight anymore. I don't have to have this armor up around me. I can surrender. I can let go. I know that God is walking this path with me always. He's already got the plan written. He always has. And I've just trusted it. I can see it clear as day where I've trusted it in the past. One being like leaving nursing and having no idea what I was going to do, but fitness fell on my plate. Like that's him, these little drops along the way. And there's one I'm actively living out right now, and I can't wait to share that chapter with you guys. It will come soon. But I just, overall, this wasn't just like a reset. It was a return. It was a return to myself, to God, to knowing the higher power is Him, and to life that I'm meant to live. And it was a really cool experience. Would I do it again? I don't know. I'd never say never. I don't know if I would. But I just first, thank you guys. This is a long episode. Thank you for just being here with me through this story, for sharing it with you guys, this transformation, through this death period, big shifts happening. And I can't wait for this, what his work is doing and this new chapter is about to bring. Thank you guys. If this spoke to you, please share it with someone who might also need any type of reminder that maybe resonate with you, or maybe it could resonate with somebody that is going through something, or I don't know. Sometimes you find the deepest light by first just stepping into the dark, which is crazy to think about that. But I'm so grateful that I did the experience, and I'm so grateful that I listened to the calling of doing it too as well. But until next time, you guys, thank you again for leaning in. And I hope this, if you guys want to know more about this experience, Instagram highlight has a ton of Q&As from it. Thank you guys for leaning in with me on that. Love you guys so much. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out. Real quick, if this episode resonated with you or gave you the push that you needed, I'd love for you to pay it forward. Drop a quick rating and review, share the podcast with someone who might need it, and help me keep spreading the word. Your feedback not only helps the show grow, but it might just be the nudge someone else needs to kickstart their transformation. Thank you so, so, so much for your support.